G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Yes, I am extremely tired, but hey, the weekend is almost here and I am very much looking forward to the Waratahs versus the Western Force, you know, with the two rugby league superstars. Stop laughing. It's legitimate. It's a legitimate draw. We got Swali on one side, got Lomax on the other side, and of course the big homecoming that is Curly Beale. I need him to sign my jersey actually. So yeah, I gotta make sure I bring a marker pen for that. And yeah, it'll be a great weekend. I'm really looking forward to that, and especially I'm very concerned for the Waratahs, especially if they come out and try to play prevent and kick a bunch of penalties. Oh boy, we might actually lose this one at home against the Western Force. So hopefully that does not happen. But hey, it'll be a good day for me regardless. And yeah, speaking of, before we get on to the preview for the game, we're going to talk about Rugby Australia. So yeah, apparently Rugby Australia, of course, with the Lions tour, as always, every 12 years, they make a lot of money and they basically make like record profits. This Lions tour with big sellouts in the stadiums, and obviously, you know, it's big profits compared to the previous Lions tour 12 years ago. Just from the inflation alone, you would suspect that they made more money than previously. But hey, still very well done. They had a loan that was taken out before the Lions tour. They paid off all of that immediately, and then still left. It was $80 million loan, immediately paid off, and then they still had $31.4 million in cash that they're going to look at, you know, reinvesting. So this is the problem with both Australia and New Zealand. Every Lions tour, they come in and they just basically have cash recharged up in their coffers, and then basically they slowly run that down over the next 12 years before another Lions tour comes in and recharge the coffers again. So this has been an ongoing theme for at least for Australia and New Zealand. I don't know about South Africa to some, maybe I think to South Africa to some extent as well. So this is like this has been how it's been going. And this time Rugby Australia basically came out and said, you know, we're going to try take that money, the 31.4 million, and try to reinvest this somehow. And just, you know, they call it the, what do they call it? They call it the 2000 Sydney Olympic model, setting up a future investment fund and then try to like snowball that money instead of just like running that down immediately and, you know, trying to snowball that money and, I mean, you know, making it a sustainable return on the investment, essentially, which I do think is wrong, in my opinion, because you are not Warren Buffett. You're not running a insurance fund. You're not running an investment fund. This is a rugby. You're running a rugby sport competition. You know, you're running. You know, something that's a promoter of a sport. You should not have an investment fund operating. You know, taking a huge chunk of your like cash that needs to be invested into the sport and putting it into like, I don't know, I don't know, Nvidia stock or something, like, right? Like investments. I just don't think that's right, but hey, you know, based on my limited understanding of how, you know, business works, this money will be better off focusing on your core business, like developing grassroots, and then, you know, expanding maybe another franchise, right? Maybe a franchise in Japan or maybe in Hong Kong or something, right? Then just putting it in the bank, earning interest, or putting it into, you know, into some kind of investment and try to snowball that from a, you know, as an investment fund. Like, come on, how many, like, do you guys? Yeah, I just don't think that's the right way to go about it. It's you know, it's something that the Kiwis actually talked about when they got the money from, which I thought is kind of laughable as well. Not to say that, you know, just does not make sense, right? The Kiwis, when they got that money from Silver Lake, they were literally talking about, can we turn this money into like, you know, an interest earning machine that, you know, we're giving like, you know, 200 million, maybe we can turn that into 400 million in a few years. But that's just not how your business works. You're not an investment fund. Your job is to grow the sport of rugby, not to grow interest like you're a bank. Okay, so I don't agree with this, to be really frank with you. I don't think this is the way to go about it, unless the investments are like, involved around, you know, broadcasting technology that, you know, makes the scrum better or something, or like using AI to make referee decision better or something. But then again, those are probably like negative return investments anyway, so you probably shouldn't be invested in AI, you probably should be letting like another company to do that, and then you just like lease the technology from them for like a fraction of the cost, and because they can take that technology and lease that to many different sports, like the AI referee or whatever. You just have to pay a fraction of it to use it instead of, like, again, I don't know how that investment fund is going to work for rugby as a sport. When I look at this, when I think about rugby as a business, I think of it like, in terms of like the UFC or the WWE, like you're like a promoter of a sport, and to promote a sport, the one thing you will notice from especially the WWE, it's a fake sport, by the way. The way they make the sport, the fake sport popular is really spending money on advertising. They spend a lot of money on advertising, and and they spend a lot of money on the presentation of the product, of the wrestling product, to make it look good with fireworks and grand entrances and sort of stuff. And like if Rugby Australia don't understand that, and they don't have people who know how to do that like competently. In fact, if they have the money, they should look at getting people who knows how to do these sort of things in a bigger, like a more efficient way, and to promote this, push the sport, to really promote the sport into a more popular direction. That's probably what they should do with the money, instead of trying to snowball interest on, I don't know, AI stocks or something. And yeah, anyway, let me know your thoughts on this, because I don't think that I don't think this is the right way to. I don't think this whole idea of an investment fund is just doesn't make sense to me for a rugby promoter, right? Like if the WWE or if the UFC, Dana White came up to me and said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna take a bunch of the revenue instead of trying to promote the sport or get bigger events in bigger venues and get bigger fighters under a contract. We're gonna take the money and invest it in corporate bonds or something." I'll be like, please don't. I will be able to invest in corporate bonds myself. I don't need the UFC to invest in corporate bonds on my behalf. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah. Anyway, just a little bit of a rant about how I see that, and also Rugby Australia as well. One of the things I just just a little bit of for my personal idea for Rugby Australia. Stop pretending like you're better than everybody else. Stop being woke. Just stop it, right? Like, I was just looking at the Rugby World Cup tickets, and I don't know if you guys can actually see this, right? See this? That is the indigenous names for the suburbs of which the stadium is in. That's not the actual suburb of the stadium. That's the indigenous name of the suburb of the region. So like, nobody uses these names in Australia. Like, no one would tell you where Perth Stadium is in the indigenous land right, like ledger or whatever, right? No one will be able to tell you. And at Rugby Australia is just like this holier than everybody else attitude, like we're better than you, and it's so like, in my opinion, right? Here's the thing, okay? If all the things you say about how you want to support the indigenous community, when Curly Beale got accused of inappropriate conduct, right? You dropped him immediately like a sack of potatoes, right? When he actually needed help, an indigenous person who's entrenched in the history of Australian rugby, literally like one of our family. To me, he's like one of our family, one of my family, essentially, right? Because how much I watch him on TV, I consider him as a member of my family almost, and you just dropped him like a sack of potatoes on accusations, on mere accusations of inappropriate conduct, and then you just like, yep, off you go. And when you actually should be like, waited for him to actually be found guilty before you actually drop him, right? He was never found. He was not guilty, by the way. So they just dropped him as soon as he was accused. And then it's like, this is your time to support like an indigenous person. This is your time to put like all these preaching into actual actual work, and yet you just dropped in immediately because it looked bad for you, right? Like come on, like and then you come up with this, trying to show how much you pretend to care about like Indigenous affairs. Like, come on, Rugby Australia, just like stop it, stop it, just focus on rugby, please. Oh God. Anyway, my little rant. So another thing, right? This is again, I think it's good. They're talking about bringing one of the Bledisloe tests to Anzac Day, right? Which is great, but I have to, I have to remind everybody at Anzac Day here in Australia, they had the welcome to the country ceremonies in a lot of the Anzac Day parades, and they got booed out of the building. The welcome is gonna get booed out of the building because a lot of people find that disrespectful to welcome, right? People who literally died for the country, to the country. People thought that was really offensive to do. So if you are going to do Anzac Day tests, please make sure, don't fall into that trap and do like a welcome to the country for the veterans who literally die to pretend defend this country. And get booed out of the stadium. Okay, just make sure you don't do that. Just a bit of follow up. But I do think this is a really good idea to bring the Bledisloe back to our Anzac Day test. And this is also really good because they did essentially the super round at Anzac Day over the weekend. I saw big turnouts, people were traveling, and they bought a new stadium in Christchurch and whatnot. And it was great events. So now they can have both the Anzac Day test and a super round, kind of like two events working in the calendar. Just keep the rugby rolling, which I think is actually quite a good idea. Just please make sure you do this properly and don't end up doing something that get everybody booed out of the building. I think the AFL did it really well. The guy that did the welcome to the country at AFL, the way he put it was like really like elegant and really nice and didn't offend anybody. Everybody cheered instead of just like saying, welcome to the country, veterans. This is not your land or something. I'll just piss off everybody watching, and just make sure you don't do that. Please make sure you have someone, right, do these things not to like offend anybody, especially our veterans. That is probably the most important part. So yeah, French rugby has talked about some law amendments, which I think is quite interesting. I want to really talk about a little bit about this. So apparently, I didn't actually know this was the law. Apparently, if you were taken off with a HIA and blood bin, I assumed you have unlimited substitutions, right? Actually, not unlimited. I thought you assumed until you run out of substitutions, you can put on people back on as long as you have people that can be put on. But apparently, there's actually a limit. Did you know this? There's actually a limit. You can only take people off, sub-stop people off for blood bin or HIA 4 times. 4 times. So you could only do a maximum of 12 substitutions. And now they've actually decided to reduce that down to just 8. So HIA and blood bin will require an actual player to come back on. But I don't know how this is going to work I don't know how this is gonna work for props. Are you gonna just go straight to uncontested scrum if a prop gets hurt, like in the second half, the reserve prop gets hurt? So I'm not 100% sure how this is gonna go. And the second thing they wanted to change is they're trying to speed up the game in terms of kicking conversions and kicking penalties, dropping the time from 60 seconds to 45 seconds, which I think it's fine. I think the 60 seconds to 45 seconds. I don't think 60 seconds is that long, to be honest, but dropping down to 45, it's fine. I'm not too much about it. But finally, they are asking for a change, a modification to the 20-minute red card. So the current way the red card functions is that the referee will look at something, right, and try to speed the game up. Basically saying, okay, that could be a red, maybe yellow, maybe red. Let's just do a TMO bunker review and get the bunker to sort out if it's actually a red or a yellow, right? And then once it goes to the bunker, you actually can't do the full red card send-off anymore. It's a max. So only the referee on field can still do the full red send-off. And then once you go to the bunker, it's only a 20-minute red, right? But the whole point of it is like, okay, this may or may not be a red, but we don't want to spend 5 minutes looking at this. go to the bunker and bunker can sort that out whilst we play on the game, right? That's the idea of the 20-minute red. And the French is not happy with this. They're basically saying that, the referee on the field needs to decide whether it's a full red, a 20-minute red, or a yellow card. Okay? So the referee on the field needs to determine whether it's a 20-minute red card directly on the field. And it's the bunker that will decide, right, whether it stays a red, drops down to a yellow, and by the sound of it, right, the bunker able to issue a final red. They could even upgrade it to a full red card. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. Yeah, basically from what they're saying here, that's their idea. They want the referee to issue the 20-minute red and have the bunker to decide whether it stands or not, instead of giving out a yellow and have the bunker upgraded to a 20-minute red. Now you have the referee already asserting it's a 20-minute red and have the bunker to decide. Maybe the bunker cannot downgrade it to yellow. Maybe the bunker cannot downgrade it to yellow. So okay, I think what this is saying is the referee has to decide whether it's a yellow or a 20-minute red. And once it goes to a 20-minute red, the bunker will decide if it's a 20-minute red or a full red. They cannot downgrade to yellow. I think that's what this actually says. That the referee able to issue a 20-minute red card directly on the field, that the bunker be able to issue a final red card, not mentioning you can downgrade it to yellow, that the name be changed, perhaps even to an orange card. So they're going to potentially change it to an orange card as well. So yeah, there's going to be a bit of a change in 20-minute red. In my opinion, I don't mind this. I think the most important part is having the 20-minute red. I think they're not removing the 20-minute red, which is the most important part. I think that, again, if, there is a, obvious, I don't mind, to be honest. I never thought the referee taking the time to making the right decision, it's a waste of time or like takes away from the experience. I like watching the referee looking at slow motions, frame by frame, like they do in the NFL, like they do in many other sports. I like that, but somehow in rugby they think that's not fun for the fans. But hey, maybe it's just me. I actually like that. In fact, sometimes I take the referee's wrong decisions and I put it on my channel and I do frame by frame slow motion replay and analysis, and that seems to be pretty popular in my channel as well. So I don't know why they think that's not a thing, but anyway, so this might slow down the referee decision a little bit, which I don't mind, but it might slow down the referee decision a little bit. But ultimately, the key here is, the referee is the one that have to decide whether it's a yellow or a 20-minute red, and the bunker there to upgrade it to a full red. That's what it sounds like to me. So yeah, anyway, moving on. Super Rugby, so Super Rounders, quicker results. Crusaders beat the Waratahs 35 points to 20, goal kicking for Waratahs. Anyway, Crusaders didn't kick any goals, all right? Won the game despite earlier struggles. Hurricanes flogged the Brumbies. One of the worst performances I've ever seen. Players missed tackles everywhere. Yeah, the Brumbies are completely off the rails right now. Blues versus Reds. Golden point, penalty, Fraser McRae entering from the side. Yeah, tough one, but yeah, the Reds did really well to keep themselves in the fight and claw themselves back from deficits. Didn't kick any penalty goals. Really like that. Highlanders beat the Moana Pacifica as well. So in this third day, these two games, Highlanders and Chiefs versus Fiji and Endura, I don't know if it's just me. Players all look a little bit tired, in my opinion. I think just, being around for 3 days and waiting to play rugby and being around the stadium and yeah, just being both these games. I thought the teams look a little bit tired. The Jura one of the players was a Dura Sese, I think his name was, had a crazy, he had like the most craziest brain fart moment. He had to try to grubber kick the ball to himself inside his own goal and then ended up kicking it to the opposition. And then he redeemed himself later on in the game, and I think he scored a try later on as well to redeem himself. So it was really, really interesting to see. But yeah, I thought maybe just me, let me know your thoughts if you had that feeling that both these games, the players just look a little bit tired. But anyway, this week, pretty big games coming up as well. Hurricanes versus Crusaders on Friday afternoon, and then Waratahs versus Western Force, Juras versus Highlanders on Saturday. Blues versus Moana Pacifica on Saturday afternoon. And then Reds versus Bromby Saturday night. Big showdown for everyone. So, yeah. So, this article I just quickly touch on as well. So, they did a bit of rundown on like how the teams are looking heading into the final rounds. Apparently, some of the really tough ones, the Crusaders are facing a pretty tough run. Despite having 3 home games, I think they're going to be fine. They have some pretty tough opposition coming up, but 3 home games and 1 bye. It's they're teetering on the 6th spot, so they have to kind of like really win all of their home games to really close this one out. Moana Pacifica pretty much out of the touch here. Despite the home games, they pretty much got no chance of making it anymore. Highlanders are pretty tough as well to make it in top, but they do have a bunch of away games that they have to go through. On the opposite end, the teams that are most likely apparently to making it into the finals, easiest run to the finals, are the Brumbies and the Waratahs. The Brumbies the easiest one apparently, home away, and relatively easy rounds coming up, and they're gonna bye as well heading into the final round. So to be able to of course the Brumbies have the easiest, relatively the easiest one to make it in to the final. And the Waratahs are pretty easy as well, but without the bye. But yeah, with Brumbies coming up at home, that's going to be a big one to really decide whether or not they're going to make it into top 6, I think. But anyway, one of the big things on the weekend is, before we talk about this one, we'll talk about the Leicester Fainga-anuku. So, obviously, Leicester Fainga-anuku was being, taking a page. Rob Penny, the head coach of the Crusaders, is taking a page out of Dr. Rassi's playbook, and put Fainga-anuku as an open side flanker for the Crusaders. So the Kiwi pundits are not happy. I don't think this worked. Not convinced. You got Jeff Wilson, not convinced. They got Parson, whatever his name was. All the Kiwi pundits big ones are not really convinced. But I'm pretty convinced. I think this is great. I saw something out of like the threat for this guy. Just that pick and go try. It's just, I think it's so brilliant because, as a center, the one thing, if you're a professional center, if you play center, you would know this. If you look up in front of you and you see a bunch of props and locks in front of you, it's literally like your wet dream. You're just like, God, like it's already a mismatch. You just like really want to run at them because there's a good chance you're gonna, potentially just run through around them with your speed and agility. It's already a mismatch. What everybody's dream of. The fact that Fainga-anuku is playing a 7, there's always a mismatch, right? You hang around the rocks, you look up, you're always looking at the mismatches, and then anytime you see someone that's taking a nap or not paying attention, you just pick and go. And yeah, it's just I actually really like this. But hey, the Kiwi pundits are not convinced. But let's talk about the big game this weekend. So first up, Botha, what's his name? Daniel Botha has been suspended for a dangerous cleanout. What is it? 2 weeks? How much is it? 1 week or something. But anyway, he got half the ban. So he's missing out 2 games. But anyway, he's going to miss out a couple games as a result of that. But yeah, I'm surprised that Amata Cero didn't get banned for what looked like a bit of a punch on the Crusaders game. But anyway, let's have a look at the Waratahs team going against the mighty Western Force. So coming number 1, Tom Lambert, Ethan Dubbins retains the 2 spots. Sio Sifa Amon comes up from the bench to number 3. I actually think the Waratahs lineouts are probably the best one out of all the are they the ones that, because Brumbies lineouts were horrendous. Was it the Reds? I think the Reds also have pretty bad lineouts against the Blues. But I think the Waratahs, the only one that had, was the Waratahs strong in lineouts as well. But I think lineouts was a big issue for I think all the Australian teams. But anyway, Matt Phillips gets staying at number 4 jersey. Angus Blythe moves up on the bench to number 5. Angus Scott Young retains number 6. So Amata Cero gets dropped down to the bench. I think we'll have a look at it in a sec. Charlie Gamble retains at number 7. P. Samuel, number 8. Jake Gordon comes back at number 9. Lawson Crichton moves from 12 back to number 10, where Jack Depressini gets dropped down to the bench with the return of Joseph Swali'i. So the management do like Crichton as 10 over Debrasini. So yeah, that's interesting to see that. Sid Harvey gets moved from 14. No, he stays 11. Joey Walton moves from 13 back to 12, and Sue gets returns to number 13. Joseph Akusu Swali'i, Sue. Andrew Callaway retains number 14 jersey, and Max Jorgensen, who did pretty good number 15 last week, retains number 15 jersey. On the bench now, we got Fainga-anuku, number 16, Isaac Kalea, number 17. A new guy potentially debuting, Apollosi Ranawai comes in number 18. Miles Matasero drops down to number 19. Jamie Adamson, number 20. Teddy Wilson, so he's a 5-3 setup on the bench this weekend for the Waratahs instead of the 6-2 for a couple of weeks now. So Teddy Wilson comes in at number 21. Jack Debrasini gets dropped down to number 22. And Tristan Riley retains number 23 jersey to finish a 5-3 setup for the Waratahs on the bench. Now, for the Western Force, obviously, the Zach Lomax powerhouse it's been selected for the second round this week. So coming in number 1, Tom Robertson. Number 2, Brandon Paenga-Amosa. Number 3, Millicent Missinao Epinesa for the Western Force. Jeremy Williams comes in number 4. Darcy Swain, number 5. Nick Champion de Cribney, number 6. That's some pretty crazy dominant like lock jump options in the lineouts there. Man, this might be a bit tough for the Waratahs. Carlo Tazzano comes in number 7. Violini Ikusai comes in number 8. We got Henry Robinson, number 9, who's a resigner with the Western Force for 2028 this week. Ben Donaldson comes back at number 10. This is a big one. Ben Donaldson, he needs to really make a statement this weekend to potentially just claim that number 10 jersey for the Wallabies. So number 10, Ben Donaldson. Dylan Pitch comes in at number 11. Hamish Stewart comes in number 12. George Bridge retains number 13 jersey. Zach Lomax retains number 14. Mac Greeley returns number 15 jersey. On the reserves, we've got Nick Doley, number 16. Sefi Fayangasi comes in number 17. Harry Johnson Holmes, number 18. Franco Molia, the Argentinian lock, comes in number 19. Will Harris comes in number 20, the former Waratah. Number 21, Nathan Hasty. Number 22, Bailey Kunzel. And number 23, I got to get a signature from this guy, Curly Beale. Got to see the man. Got to see Curly. He's finally back home, guys. He's finally back. But anyway, let's talk about. I don't want to get too emotional. Let's move on. Oh God. So the Reds will be playing against the Brumbies this weekend, and Junkyard Dog is on a 2-year extension. Tim Ryan. His actual name is Tim Ryan. I've been calling him Junkyard Dog on my notes, but his name's actually Tim Ryan. So really good to see. Locking him down. Fraser McRae talked about his side entry issues, but it's a tough decision. Henry Robinson lockdown, I talked about that already. So anyway, moving on. The Champions Cup, European Champions Cup semi-finals this weekend. So some big names coming up. So Leicester versus Toulon, interesting one. And then we've got Bordeaux Beglers versus Bath. Now, I did not watch Leicester or Toulon play, but I did watch Beglers and I did watch the Bath play in the quarterfinals. Bath versus Northampton. This was one of those games, right? Northampton's came out guns blazing. Looked like they were going to put out a massive upset, only for them to do a Waratah, right? First thing they did in the second half, kicking a penalty goal. And after that, I'm like, Bath, to be fair, kicked penalties as well. But yeah, like the capitulation very much set in after the 3-point from Northampton, more than the Bath team. And then they actually were leading for the most part of the game. And for the Bath to basically won the game in the last minute was pretty bad for Northampton. Begler as well versus Toulouse. This was Dupont against Toulouse, and they just, I think it was like there was like 2 players got sent off for Toulouse, for the Bordeaux Beglers to win this one. With Damien Penel as well back in the team, looking pretty deadly. But yeah, this will be again, that's pretty interesting. But Leicester versus Toulon, I don't know. It's you know, just to remind everybody, what's his name? Rico Ioane is not Geordie Barrett. Just want to remind everybody in that regard. Anyway, the United Championship, URC, I watched a little bit of it as well. I did watch the Stormers beat Glasgow. There was a prop, Umuchu, whatever his name is, scored 2 tries. Dominant scrummaging, and it looked like I watched quite a couple of South African game. I got to go watch the Lions game. But one of the things I did notice is the South Africans it's really trying to play the Rugby ball. Like every team is just scrum dominant. And what was interesting was that despite the scrum dominance and just absolutely stacked with the Springboks, the Sharks were not able to deliver any good results for the fans. I think it's a little bit disappointing. The Sharks are a little bit disappointing. But other than that, the scrum dominance. I heard that the Lions are like crazy good and they're like untouchable, like in terms of like counterattacks. So I gotta go watch that. But apparently scrum has been an absolute dominant theme going in the South African sides. Good news for the Australian fans. Angus Bell, he is actually going to be okay to play for Leicester for Ulster this weekend. He's actually at least he's clear to play, so it's not going to be his toe. It's going to be okay, so it's not like a long-term injury, which is good. There's some talks that James O'Connor could potentially get signed to the Sharks. He's going back to his like ancestral homeland of South Africa, which would be quite nice. And then we've got South African Rugby Union has come out and stated a warning to players who wants to join or trial for this one Mzansi Rugby League competition. So this competition is like trialing our new players and trying to get the Rugby League essentially started in South Africa. And basically South African Rugby Union is like, nah, if anybody goes to trial for this competition, you will be expelled from us, from our competition immediately. So pretty tough there. So yeah, anyway, I really like the Stormers jersey, by the way. Look pretty good, this color with the black. I don't know, the black and this just looks really good for some reason. George North will be retired at the end of the season. I thought he retired. Oh, he retired from Test Rugby last year, but he's retiring at the end of the season. And that is the news this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be going to, hopefully, Waratahs don't start kicking penalty goals and lose the Western Force tomorrow. I am very worried. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys for the review tomorrow. And have a good weekend. And cheers.